Good evening, everyone. We welcome you to a meeting of the Buchanan Community Schools Board of Education. All regular meetings have been posted on our district website, in our central office, and in each district school building. Please be sure you have picked up a copy of this evening's agenda and a Board of Education inquiry form if necessary. Our school board members receive the agenda and all supporting documents for reports and action items several days prior to the scheduled meeting, so they can review information, prepare questions or comments, and are ready to participate fully in the discussions and votes that encompass the duties of their office. Board members follow the agenda and review related documents on their devices throughout the duration of this meeting. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is time for regular public participation during the meeting, as indicated in item agenda G. If you wish to make a presentation to the board during agenda item G, please fill out the Google form located on our district website before item G on the agenda. Thank you for your support of Buchanan Community Schools. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lee.
Here.
Dr. Burnett. I think through his text it's a not, but didn't come in right. So. Ms. Rader.
Present.
Mr. Wynn.
Here.
Mr. Devonick.
Here.
Was here. Ms. Holden.
Here.
Here comes Harvey.
Oh, I couldn't read this right. Oh, I didn't know.
Thank you. And Mr. Burnett. All right.
Can I have a motion to approve the board meeting?
Make a motion that the agenda for the board meeting of August 17th, 2020 be adopted as written.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Lee.
Yes?
Dr. Burnett? Ms. Rader?
Yes.
Ms. Tobler?
Yes.
Mr. Devonick?
Yes.
Ms. Lesh? Yes. Mr. Wentworth?
Yes.
All 7 yeses. Motion adopted.
Recognition of visitors. Is Mr. Dobius here? Or
Yep. Oh, there he is.
in item agenda E, information, reports, and new business.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
Just for your information, I did want to let you know that.
Are you muted?
Just for your information, I do want to let you know that on August 4th, I met with the Parent Advisory Committee, along with Mrs. Tobler and Mrs. Ryder. We met via our virtual meeting. I felt that the conversation was very, very well. It was good. It was in depth. There were questions that our team was able to answer. Mr. Mark Curlin and Dr. Dunn were also on the call. They were explaining the virtual plan. And just at the end of the meeting, the parents did want to know if we were going to meet again, if this was going to be something continuous. So the answer to that was yes. And I will be planning our next meeting here soon. It won't happen until after the start of the school year, though. So just so you know that. So that's my information regarding that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item agenda F, superintendent department report.
And I do not have any formal reports. I am working on structuring my team. So I will let you know at the next board, before the next board meeting, how we're going to structure our teams and as far as who will be attending these meetings moving forward. So that information is coming forward.
Item agenda G, community dialogue, citizen concerns. And there are none. So we can move right on to our presentation of the strategic plan.
Okay, hopefully everybody can see a copy of the strategic plan. Can you hear me okay? So thank you for having me back here again this evening. And this has been a long time coming. And I am proud to be presenting the strategic plan for your approval this evening. On the very first slide, can everybody see the slides okay right now? You will see a new revised mission statement, which is educating students for lifelong success in their civic, academic, physical, social, and emotional lives. So how did we get to that point? As you know, we began the process back in August when the board approved facilitation by MASB of the strategic plan. We had face-to-face stakeholder meetings in November. And we took that information into a retreat in January. During that time, this binder was put together. And have all board members had a chance to see this binder? Everybody got a copy of it? Okay. And it contains a wealth of data, both hard data, achievement scores, demographics, and that sort of thing. And it also contains conceptual data, very, very important. My microphone went out. Lord, you think I would learn how this would work sometime? Are we okay now? And the work on the behalf of the participants was enormous, and we had a good participation, as you know, in collecting the perceptual data through the surveys and the face-to-face meetings, where I think you had something like 240 some people participate. You had a crew of 24 people that attended the retreat and gave input. It went to an implementation team, and there's still a little bit of work that needs to be done on the implementation plan because a lot changed after that was done in February or March. So I will be happy to come back and meet with Trish and her team to revisit all that. So what's important about this letter from the board president and the superintendent? First of all, you see it's a plan that could last up to 5 years. The key in this process is going to be keeping it a live document, keeping it in front of you as you're meeting as a board, as your staffs are meeting, and making sure that you're hitting the key milestones of your implementation plan as you're going along, and that as a board you're seeing progress towards your goals. That will require also that you revisit it on an annual basis, because the implementation plan that we put together and that we'll revise with Trish and her team really looks out a year at a time. So the best thing you can be doing is, as strategies are going by the wayside, you're adding new strategies without coming back and redoing the whole plan. So that's what I mean by a living document. Some of the themes that are outlined in the letter that I think are important to recognize at this point is, first of all, you do provide, as you know, a very high quality education. And you do have much better than average achievement scores. There are some that certainly need, work if you're just looking at those scores by themselves. And that's the beauty of this, this binder that was put together, is it does show that trend data. But you've definitely got things in the right direction, and there's a lot of positive momentum. Secondly, I'm not telling you anything new, but your district is the centerpiece of the area. The amount of pride is just amazing, and I felt that from the first moment I walked into the district. The success of this plan and the district in general is going to continue to hinge on the support that you get from your stakeholders. And to that point, number 4, under the themes, is everyone recognizes there needs to be a better job of engaging stakeholders. And I underlined one part at the end there because a common theme is people who are not involved or are underrepresented. And I know that when I talked to Trish on the phone recently, she said that's one of the things I want to work on and I want to address. So we want to make sure that we brought that out in that letter. I won't go through this page in a lot of detail, but one of the things that you told MASB in this process is you wanted an inclusive process that involved lots of people and got lots of voices to the table. So stakeholder input was certainly used here to gather perceptions, give people that voice that you wanted, look at what people thought were areas that needed improvement. And then we gathered data, as you saw in that folder, and to develop a communication plans and tools, which some of it will have to come out in that implementation plan, is how you're going to communicate out the progress you're making with your community, with your staff, and that sort of thing. So this document that was put together had, and I'm going to hold it up here, although people won't see it because they're seeing my screen, contained not just academic data, it contained data on finances, on personnel, on demographics. It compared your district to 5 others, which were Brandywine, Chesaning, Parchment, Reed City, and Watervliet, all kind of similar districts, size-wise, number of buildings, and that kind of thing. And you can just see my quote there at the bottom. Again, throughout this process, the passion and pride that all your stakeholders expressed towards the district was just amazing. Here's a list of the strategic planning team members that participated on the retreat day, which was January 20th. And what do we do on that retreat day? Well, we went through an overview of the process. Superintendent Donahue gave a great report and talked about some of the initiatives that were underway. We reviewed the data in this folder in Teams, and some of the key trends from that data were gleaned and shared with the group. We reviewed and renewed and revised the vision, mission, and belief statements. We established some strategic goal areas. So there were goal statements written, and there were some key objectives that people in that group thought the district ought to be working on. And then the assignment of planning team leaders develop action plans for each goal and objective was an implementation plan that I was talking about that did have timelines and measurements as a part of that. The new vision statement that was recommended by the group, the vision of Buchanan Community Schools is to develop responsible, resilient, creative citizens capable of succeeding in a global society. We talked about the mission statement already, but the vision statement, going back to that for a second, is really where you want to go with your district. Okay, when everything's operating on all cylinders, what's the district going to look like? The mission statement is more about what you're going to do on a day-to-day basis. And then you can see the belief statements at the bottom where, and I will read this, the group said, we believe in providing a safe, supportive, respectful environment, opportunities for all students, and the word options in parentheses there to emphasize that it's not a one-size-fits-all, there's choices involved. Student growth and achievement, and cooperative relationships among students, families, stakeholders, and community members. And I thought that was really interesting, and there was a lot of discussion about that one. that particular belief statement. And they want not to be just the school with, but those entities with each other. And I thought that was a real powerful way of framing that the school can be a part of making sure we bring all these folks together. So there's 5 main goal areas. And the first one, academics and programs, and I'll read these. Buchanan Community Schools will increase student achievement and interest through engaging curriculum programming. And the priority objectives, which are basically your first year accomplishments that you want to have, is to get a commitment from staff to attend training and implement social schools for students in middle school health. Surveying staff technology PD needs and providing remediation options for struggling learners. Second goal area was Buchanan Community Schools will foster academic and social success through collaborative learning. Behavior intervention at Moccasin Elementary, and O stands for Ottawa, I should know that. Expanding the PBIS program, positive behavior support, and behavior training, trauma-informed and restorative justice. Buchanan Community Schools will strive to maintain improved communication and engagement with all community stakeholders. This was a big topic of discussion throughout the retreat and in the implementation plan all. And it was providing, I think, if I could say in a nutshell, maybe a greater degree of transparency about what's going on in the school, engaging people, providing some of the rationales for decisions and that kind of thing, and trying to get buy-in for some of the changes and some of the things that are going on. And the other one was that administrators having control over their social media and utilizing it to highlight students' events and give information. Personnel and leadership. Buchanan Community Schools will implement and enforce policies and procedures utilizing best practice within all departments. A big part of the discussion was how to develop a retention and recruitment plan for teachers and students. So marketing the district outside of the community to prospective teachers, telling them that Buchanan Community Schools is a great place to come and work, and then marketing the district, to attract students and that sort of thing as well. And then also making recommendations regarding class size and elementary electives, advanced placement, and that sort of thing. Operations, Buchanan Community Schools will provide facilities and operations to support district goals, bringing custodial services in-house, analyzing utility costs, and increasing technology through Chromebooks and that sort of thing. You'll notice that the goal statements are written pretty broad, and there's a reason for that, and that reason is as this plan evolves over the next 3 to 5 years, you want to be able to bring in new first-year accomplishments and strategies. You want to be able to fall underneath these categories without having to rewrite your goals, even though you can do that if you want. So implementation of the strategic plan. So we need to finalize that implementation plan. Everything that your team worked on was put together on a quarterly basis. What's going to happen the first quarter? So if we'll go back for a second. If we look at the Chromebook piece there, what's going to happen the first quarter of the year? What's going to happen the second quarter of the year, or the second quarter that the plan's implemented? What's going to happen the third quarter, and then the fourth quarter, and what's going to look like when it's all done? So we need to go through every one of those objectives and now revise those timeline, because I think back when we did this plan, they were beginning like on March 1st. So now we're going to be looking at things that begin sometime this fall after we get back together with the team. We want to have a timeline. We want to have some kind of measurement in there. And I will work with Trish to develop some reporting protocols that can be brought to the board on a regular basis. I like the idea of having strategic planning, progress on goals and objectives as a regular standing item on your board agendas. Not everybody's going to report out on everything that they're doing every month, but if you, it just, you know, you have a lot of people that tune into your board meetings, and they'll see that you're taking your plan seriously and you're taking their investment with appreciation. We need to identify responsibilities for people who are going to lead various committees, and what are some of the resources that are going to need to be put behind them. I talked about the reporting calendar, and then also communicating out the results of your hard work, and being, you know, honest and transparent about it, because I can tell you, you won't make every objective on every timeline. It just happens. Sometimes you'll speed things up and you'll get through it quicker. And there's going to be other times where you're going to hit some roadblocks and things get in the way, and you won't. So, you know, being honest and upfront about what happened, what was going on, and also in a part of that, reporting, I think is a real good thing to do, is put your academic data in there as well and show what your trends are, show what's happening. And it's more than just, you know, MEP scores or MEP scores. How old am I, right? Been out of the game for a while here. MSTEP scores, MME scores, and that kind of thing. But it's some of the other things. I think it's wise not to identify and put stuff out there necessarily about every grade level all the time. But things like, what are your third grade reading scores? That's a key one we hear a lot about. So keeping that in front of people. What are your 8th grade math scores? What are your college and career readiness scores and that sort of thing? So that's all part of your communication plan. You have the newsletter, you get that information out that way. But it's, you know, maybe engaging community groups out there too, and just sharing what you're doing and sharing your plan and that sort of thing. It talks about a mid-year progress report. You know, I think that's a good thing, but I think it's more important that it's a regular item. You keep it going. And then year down the road, maybe you convene a mini retreat and you report everything back out again, and you talk about how you're planning on revising things again for the upcoming year. The rest is just attachments, and I'm not going to go through all these. And these attachments are really some of the data that's in the that was in this binder, but the strengths, opportunities for improvement, barriers, and vision, that was all part of the perceptual data that was gleaned. This is some of the hard data that I think is, you know, really interesting again to read through. You know, it's up to you as a board whether you want to share the long version of the plan or a 2-pager that I'm going to show you in just a couple seconds. But this does have some tremendous information in it that really I think shows the trends of your district over time. So again, you know, demographics, your academic scores. Another activity that was part of the retreat was an environmental scan, where you know, your team looked at things going by the wayside, things that are coming on the horizon, things that are entrenched, things that your district has to deal with on a day-to-day basis. This right here, part right here, is some of the key findings from the data that your teams came up with. And these were some of the things that were suggested to work on as a part of your goals. And in the MASB program, a lot of places say, okay, what are your goals? And then what are the things you're going to work on under the goals? This approach that we use kind of says, what are some of the things that we need to work on? And then let's build the goals around those. So as a team goes back and revisits the implementation plan, this will be something that they'll want to come back to and look at again. And then there is a companion to 2-page document. That's kind of like the Cliff Notes, if you will. It shows you what the new mission, vision, belief statements are. Shows you what the goal areas are, and then it just kind of goes through each one of those goals or areas and tells you what the goal is and what some of those priority objectives under each goal or the first year accomplishments are. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. If you approve this plan, then I will set a time with Trish when she thinks it's appropriate to come back and revisit the implementation plan, which breaks it down in more details and is really kind of more of a roadmap for your administrative team and others that are involved in the implementation of the plan to keep track and look at what they're going to do every quarter and make sure they're on top of things. I would entertain any questions.
I was just gonna say, I think, like, I was reading through it, I was like, oh, we've already done that. Or,
Yep.
the computer, the Chromebook, now obviously with COVID, I know they're on back order and there's other issues. So that might have to be something spread out. So that meeting to look through that stuff would be necessary now because of COVID. So,
Absolutely. And you probably, I would assume you're going to need some training on those for people and are those, and for students and that sort of, you can build that into your implementation plan because that'll be very important. There was a lot of professional development needs that were talked about during that whole process. And you saw the ones for, dealing with kids in trauma and that kind of thing. So, that's the kind of thing you really need to be careful about how you schedule and lay it all, so you're not laying it all on top of one another. And there'll be some more of the conversation that I think we'll have.
I just think that it has to be a flexible document given the situation we're in, and we may have to adjust some of our priorities, but it impresses me when I look through the strengths and the opportunities for improvement and the barriers. Even with the onset of COVID, those things didn't change.
Right.
Maybe some of them have risen to higher priorities than others, exposed some of our weaknesses, but really, even pre-COVID, our list was pretty accurate here. So
I think you're right. They're not going to go away, are they?
no. So as we move forward on this, we'll adjust our priorities on what to implement first and
Yes.
make additional plans. Okay.
I appreciated the fact that you included disappearing items that we, disappearing.
I was impressed that we included the disappearing items that were so much a part of education in the past, and we're in a transformational situation now, and so there may be other things that completely disappear and things that we haven't thought of, and so we have to be willing to make those adjustments as we proceed this year and next.
Yes.
And I also want to thank all of the people who spent an entire day in January to discuss all of this and to really have brainstorming, and that was very beneficial.
Thank you. I would like to thank them as well because the people that were here were just so invested.
Very engaged, and our students were very vocal and made us all proud.
You had a great group of kids here. You had what, 3 students, I think, 2 or 3
I
students,
think
and
3.
they were awesome. They weren't afraid of speaking up and saying, hold on a second.
No, they weren't.
It's, I'm glad you brought up the changes and the priorities in COVID and that kind of thing, and the perspective that things aren't going to go away. I would imagine there's going to be a lot of districts that are going to put this kind of work on hold, slide it to the back, just deal with what's coming at them. I know it's hard, but I think it's probably more important than ever to keep your focus on this those things that we need to do. We might not get to them this year, but they are priorities. We have to get to them down the road.
I think one of the big things that's important to me is that now that we have a new superintendent too, to work with her to set goals so that we can let her do her job and then she knows how to move forward too.
Yep, absolutely.
Any more questions? Thank you very much.
One other thing I'd just like to mention is I just want to remind you that you do get a roles and relationships workshop between the board and the superintendent is at no cost, and probably be good to schedule that sometime sooner rather than later. But thank you for the opportunity to work with you on this.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mark.
you.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay. Can we get a motion for the adoption of the consent agenda, please?
I move the consent agenda for the regular board meeting of August 17th, 2020 be adopted as written. 1, the minutes from board meetings of 7:14 special meeting, 7:20 regular meeting, 7:21 special meeting, and 7:28 special meeting. 2, warrants, expenditures, reports, and payroll for July. 3, recommendations to hire as submitted by Operations Supervisor Mr. Darrell Miller, BHS Principal Mrs. Stacy DeMaio, and Executive Director Business and Operations Mrs. Tricia Lowry. Sandra Cheney, Operations Utility Staff, Sandra Summers, Operations Utility Staff, Brandon Flowers, Guidance Counselor, and Rebecca Kaltenbach, Food Service Director. 4, staff resignations as submitted. Jessica Elliott, BHS Language Arts Teacher, Tammy Brunn, BCS Bus Driver.
Support.
Do you have anything, Mrs. Robinson? Okay. Any comments from board members? Roll call, please.
Mr. Lee? Mr. Burnett?
Yes.
Ms. Ryder?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth?
Yes.
Mr. DeVlamic?
Yes.
Ms. Lesh, yes. Ms. Tobler?
Yes.
7 yeas, motion adopted.
And I just want to say, Jessica Elliott, thank you for your years with the high school and good luck with your new adventure. Okay, recommended action other. Neola second reading, motion, please.
I move the Buchanan Board of Education approves the second reading of the following Neola policies, volume 34, number 2, revised and reissued policies. 2210 curriculum development, 2412 homebound instruction program, 2414 reproductive health and family planning, 3362.01 threatening behavior towards staff members, 4162 controlled substance and alcohol policy for commercial motor vehicle drivers and other employees who perform safety sensitive functions, 5200 attendance, 6107 authorization to accept and distribute electronic records and use electronic signatures, 8210 school calendar, 8400 school safety information, 8450 control of casual contact communicable diseases, 8462 student abuse and neglect, and 8600 transportation.
Support.
Robinson?
So I know Mr. Donahue led this group in the committee going through this, and this aligns with your policy 0131.01. So I'm recommending that it's approved.
Any questions?
No, I just wanted to say that we read it back because I was like, I thought we read these, but it was a little distance in between, but back in, I think, June or July.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Dr. Burnett?
Yes.
Ms. Ryder?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth?
Yes.
Mr. DeVlamic?
Yes.
Ms. Lesh, yes. Ms. Tobler?
Yes.
7 yeses, motion adopted.
Get a motion for the CT the BVA course offerings.
I move the Buchanan Board of Education approves the courses for the 2020-21 school year being offered through the Buchanan Virtual Academy as submitted by BVA Director Mark Fry.
Support.
Yeah, and I just wanted to just state that these course offerings are aligned with our Michigan State standards, and this is something that is done every year as it comes out. So, yes.
But I don't remember ever seeing such a thorough list of the course offerings. I was really impressed.
Mhm.
It's the first time, I'd seen such a list, especially the electives were really impressive.
Yeah, they were.
Want to be a student again.
Exactly.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Lee,
Yes.
Dr. Burnett,
Yes.
Ms. Ryder,
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd, Mr. Devon,
Yes.
Ms. Lesh, yes, Ms. Kohler.
Yes.
7 yeses, motion adopted.
Okay, moving on. Item 3, CTE MMC credit approval. Motion, please.
I'll make a motion that the Buchanan Board of Education approves the recommendation as submitted by CTE BVA Director Mark Fry to accept the recommended Michigan Merit Curriculum credits for the listed CTE programs for 2020-21 of Advanced Auto, Web Design Multimedia, Business Management Administration, Cisco, Culinary, Cosmetology, and Sports Medicine.
Support.
This is another one of those documents that needs to be approved every year, to give students the credits for these CTE programs. So my recommendation is that the board approves them as well.
Comments from board members?
Do you know if we added or subtracted it? Program?
Which one I did?
From that, I don't know.
What did you, I didn't hear what you said,
If
Chris.
you added or taken away anything.
I'm not sure about Business Management.
Business
All the
management,
rest were on there.
yeah.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Lee, Dr. Burnett.
Yes.
Ms. Ryder,
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth,
Yes.
Mr. Devonick,
Yes.
Ms. Lesh, yes, Ms. Tobler.
Yes.
7 yeses, motion is adopted.
Recommendation, agenda 4, adoption of strategic plan. Motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion that the Buchanan Board of Education approves the Buchanan Community Schools Strategic Plan.
Support.
And I just want to, thank Mr. Donahue for his work in this, and then the entire team, everyone who spent the whole day in working on this plan. I've been a part of this process before, and it is very in-depth, and it kind of leaves you with just brain overload after this work. So I am excited, though, about being able to implement it and working with the team and prioritizing our actions to align with the goals. So I'm recommending that the board approves this as well.
Any comments from board members?
Just tailing on what Mark said earlier about developing a way to report like on a monthly basis. I think that would be a great and critical thing to keep this front and center as we move forward. So I look forward to that.
And he said he'll give me some templates to work with so we can have those reports done.
It sounds like we'll be setting up a workshop too.
Yep.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Lee,
Yes.
Dr. Burnett,
Yes.
Ms. Ryder.
Yeah.
Mr. Wentworth,
Yes.
Mr. Devonick,
Yes.
Ms. Lesh, yes, Ms. Tobler.
Yes.
7 yeses, motion is adopted.
Recommend action item number 5, the BEA 2021 school calendar amendment. Motion, please.
I move the Buchanan Board of Education approves the amended 2020-21 school calendar recommended by the Buchanan Education Association President Wendy Murphy and Superintendent Trish Robinson.
Support.
Ms. Ryder?
Okay.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes, so this is one of those amendments that's needed due to COVID. However, it does align with one of the pieces that's in the strategic plan of PD around technology. So we had to adjust the calendar so we could have another half day at the beginning to give our teachers some Google Classroom training, so that they're more acclimated to remote learning and remote teaching. So this is what this plan is about, this amendment. And I want to thank Mr. Derek Teft and Mrs. Wendy Murphy for really working with the district and making these amendments happen. So, and my recommendation is that the board approves this amendment.
Any comments from board members?
It's going to be needed.
Yes.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Lee. Dr. Burnett.
Yes.
Ms. Ryder.
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth.
Yes.
Mr. Devonick.
Yes.
Ms. Lesh, yes. Ms. Tobler.
Yes.
7 yeses, motion is adopted.
Okay, item agenda K, questions and comments from board members?
Just a couple of comments. One, we did our annual training of the crossing guard, so they're ready to go this morning, and things of that nature. And then the next thing we'll have to work on is the review of the school's emergency management plan to make sure it's at, so we can sign off on it. And then we'll go from there.
Anything else? Okay, I have something. Mrs. Ryder came up with a great idea to do the achievements for Buchanan Community Schools for the past 3 years, 2017 to 2020. And I would like to share them with you. Academics, improved vision to move BCS to a high level of achievement, changed the status quo and raised expectations, fully embraced and implemented the professional learning community model for continued improvement, led full teaching staff PD sessions in school culture, PLCs, essential standards, fully embraced formative summative assessment using data, book studies, conferences, and online PD and PLCs, encouraged instituted virtual team meetings in core academics with principals involved on a regularly scheduled basis, encouraged examination of K through 12 state and national standards, expanded staff involvement in virtual team meetings. We had a social worker added, reading realignment at both Ottawa and Moccasin Elementary School, realigned the chain of command, COVID-19 response to e-learning in spring and options in fall, additional technology for student users.
In the area of administration and staff, in the last 3 years, we now have a dedicated executive director for academic services, a dedicated director of special education, a dedicated director of career tech education, and the Buchanan Virtual Academy. We've streamlined and formalized hiring and onboarding of all staff. We have 2 new principals, Mrs. Beasley and Dr. Dunn. We have new procedures for employee resignation and termination with checklists. We have put in a system to avoid legal compliance issues, and we have a staff recognition, including all facets of the district, not merely teachers or administrators.
Okay, achievements for the Board of Education, accepted the Buchanan Community School Study prepared in 2020, addressed policy issues in a timely manner, increased time for public comments, instituted consent agenda for routine items, reading of items on consent agenda, kept reported minutes of board committee meetings, and strategic planning initiated and to be continued in fall of 2020.
in the area of communication and community partnerships, we adopted new and improved website for BCS. The rollout is to be determined after COVID. We have formed parent advisory committees, staff advisory. We're worked with the student advisory committee a little bit with the meeting that we had just prior to the parent advisory committee, but that's a bit on hold again because of COVID. We have the Kids Start to Career program for kindergarten students in connection with Chemical Bank. The Buchanan Promise continues and allows Buchanan students more post-secondary opportunities. That started in 2017. We also had Tim Talks held on a regular basis in all the buildings.
Okay. In the area of facilities, air conditioning in more classrooms at BHS in an affordable way, LED lighting projects throughout the district, new visitor protocols throughout the district, refinished tennis courts, refurbished track, and resurfaced high school parking lots.
In the area of finance.
Oh, I was going to add one. I wanted to add one.
Oh,
In
good.
the facilities, you have the safe vestibule entrances.
Well, that's a little bit further down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but if anyone
on.
has anything else, that's awesome. It took a while to go through minutes and the brain matter up here. Finances, we instituted an in-depth audit and changed our company for future audits. We maintain sustainable fund balance through an in-depth review of expenses, added dollars back to the fund balance for the first time in years, but we also encourage the fund balance to be used during this crisis. We have more efficient utilization and staffing of administrative assistants, negotiated contracts with all groups in a timely manner. And I might add, I was involved with negotiations for the first time ever, and I was impressed with how well that went. And we readjusted contracts in light of COVID-19.
Operations and safety, began leasing buses, brought custodian services back in-house, COVID protocols, GPS on all buses, Here Comes the Bus rollout to be determined, announced, moved Buchanan High School office to more logical, secure location, and moved Moccasin Elementary office to more logical, secure location.
And of course, we can't forget the Battle of the Fans. We won again. And I'm sure that there are lots of other things, but because we did this strategic plan tonight, it's good to look back and review what we've accomplished in the last few years.
That's a lot.
Another thing I thought about too was Mrs. Dennison moved to Ottawa.
Yes.
So it's a big list. Lots of accomplishments.
Thank you, Ruth, for putting that together.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I had some help from various individuals.
Okay, anything else?
We don't have anything before the start, do we? On September 8th, if you want to.
As of now, we do not. But there's new legislation that is coming out that may cause us to have to be back before you again. Regarding the plan, we have to add some things. So we're working with Risa on some things. So we may have to, we may have to be before you again with a special meeting. So,
Yes.
Stay tuned.
I just wanted to say,
I'm
everybody,
sorry.
okay, keep aware of our websites, our Facebook. I know there's some questions from parents that are still coming in about lists and different, information for your building. So keep an eye on stuff. It is forthcoming. Everybody's working very hard. But we want to wish everybody a safe start on September 8th.
And again, I want to compliment the team for putting all of this together. And I know other schools have not been as smooth as we have been. I know that there was one school district, the school board meeting lasted until 3 a.m. So, we didn't have that. So thank you to every single person who was part of this. And it does take that huge team to put this together. And again, as safe and happy and healthy and all of those, calm, all of those words. It's going to be a good one.
Okay, at this time, the next board meeting is Monday, September 21st, 2020 at 6 PM. Meeting is adjourned.